Good day, my finance ethics class. Today, I'm going to discuss and summarize the first case study of our core course. This case study is a classic in business ethics classes, and it's about the company called Enron. The title of this case is Financial and Accounting Fraud at Enron. Let me first give you a brief history of this infamous company. Enron Corporation was a former American energy, commodities, and services company based in Houston, Texas. The company was created out of the merger of two major pipeline companies, Internorth Incorporated and Houston Natural Gas Company in 1985. At the height of Enron's operations, the company employed approximately 20,000 personnel and was one of the world's major electricity, natural gas, communications, and pulp and paper companies. Enron was even named America's most innovative company by the Fortune magazine for 6 consecutive years, from 1996 to 2001. However, at the end of that year, 2001, investigations revealed that its reported financial gains were sustained by an institutionalized financial and accounting fraud, and filed for bankruptcy on December 2001. The objective of this case is to illustrate the unethical corporate culture that dominated Enron. This discussion will also show how it is possible for a respected and prestigious company can be plagued with unethical and illegal business and accounting practices, which resulted in its collapse. This summary will also explain how stakeholders and gatekeepers failed at stopping Enron in conducting business malpractices. The whole Enron case is a multifaceted one and involves many players, which includes Ken Lay's political ties with the Bush family and even former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, especially during the California energy crisis. Ken Lay, as we all know, is Enron's chairman at the height of the scandal. But this discussion will be focusing on one unique feature of the Enron case, that is, how a number of individuals, including executives, employees, lawyers, auditors, and even bankers and financial analysts, dishonestly worked together and turned a blind eye to achieve Enron's financial objectives. This happened despite the fact that these corporate financial objectives were illegal and at the very least totally unethical, and often not in the best interests of both internal and external stakeholders. Central to the Enron case is the use of special purpose entities, or SPEs. The company's SPEs like Chuco, White Wing, Jedi, and the others were used to understate its liabilities and overstate its equity and earnings. SPEs were utilized to evade accounting standards, while the company disclosed to its shareholders that it had hedged its downside risk in its own illiquid investments using these dummy companies. Investors were unaware of the fact that these SPEs were actually using Enron's own stock and financial guarantees to finance these hedges. Thus, it actually does not protect Enron from the downside risk. These kinds of financial maneuverings made Enron's financial statements complicated and confusing to shareholders, analysts, and investigators. The complex financial model and unethical accounting practices cooked by the Chief Financial Officer, or CFO, Andrew Fastow, forced the company to use accounting limitations to misrepresent earnings and modify the balance sheet to indicate favorable performance. These fraudulent financial and accounting activities were supposed to be detected by the so-called gatekeepers. For example, lawyers, internal and external auditors, analysts, and regulators. This to ensure that the business's dealings are transparent and legal. Unfortunately, in Enron, these gatekeepers failed to make sure that the company conducted business in a way that was in compliance with the law. To give you some specific examples, the law firm Vinson and Elkins blocked a demand for a larger investigation by the company vice president Sharon Watkins involving questionable financial partnership of Enron with these SPEs, and have been involved in facilitating the creation of certain doubtful financial transactions. The auditor, Arthur Anderson, gave certifications on financial reports that did not actually show Enron's financial health, and also acted both as a consultant and auditor to Enron, or to the company. A clear sign of conflicting interests. Other large financial institutions around the world, like JP Morgan Chase and Citigroup, were also likely involved in allowing Enron to carry out its business malpractices. So long as Enron continued to make large profits and pay their dues to these gatekeepers and other related stakeholders, no one dared to ask questions. This is also what possibly happened inside the company. Several employees had opportunities to uncover ethical lapses, but very few questioned Enron's practices because they feared for their jobs being under a powerful and influential organization like Enron. Another big consideration in this case study is the role that Enron's CFO, Andrew Fastow, played. He played an important character in creating the financial mysteries of the organization. Fastow was accused of being the architect of Enron's complex financial and accounting record-keeping techniques and had already been imprisoned for his violations. During his time at Enron, a number of internal stakeholders believed that it was Fastow who engineered most of the unethical and illegal financial transactions, particularly the abuse of the so-called mark-to-market accounting. Later, he admitted that this accounting technique is full of unethical accounting tactics and was quoted as saying, begin quote, "Mark-to-market accounting is like crack or like addicting. So don't do it," end quote. In his opinion, in his position as a CFO, Fastow was in a perfect place to manipulate Enron's financial reports to make the organization appear strong and profitable, no matter how unstable the company actually was. We can argue that the good CFO should be a highly ethical person because of his or her powerful and sensitive position within the firm. Fastow miserably failed in this criterion because he was not able to present reliable financial information to stakeholders, and he did not ensure that the company achieves the projected financial goals. This wasn't done in a legal and ethical manner. Okay. Fastow seemed to have been concerned on ensuring that Enron hit the numbers and financial expectations, even at the expense of his duty as a gatekeeper. He should have been focused on being certain that financial controls and internal auditing procedures were operating correctly to avoid the eventual demise of the company. The company, its partners, and its employees have been caught in several legal struggles after its bankruptcy. In 2004, Enron's new board of directors sued 11 financial institutions for helping Ken Lay, Andrew Fastow, and Jeffrey Skilling, the CEO at the height of the scandal, and other executives, hide Enron's true financial condition. These legal proceedings were now called the mega claims litigation. Among the defendants were Royal Bank Scotland, Deutsche Bank, and Citigroup. Enron was able to obtain nearly $20 billion to distribute to its creditors as a result of these litigations. In 2006, Enron sold its last business subsidiary, Prisma Energy, to Ashmore Energy International. In early 2007, it changed its name to Enron Creditors Recovery Corporation with the sole purpose of paying off Enron's remaining creditors and wrap up the firm's affairs. By 2008, Enron had settled with all involved institutions, with Citigroup being the last institution. And as of today, almost all claims and process payments were already distributed to undermined parties. Many of the people convicted of crimes connected to Enron have already served their sentences, like the former CFO, Fasto. But former CEO, Skilling, remains in prison after being convicted. Former Chairman Ken Lay, on the other hand, died of a heart attack in July 2006. The primary contributing factor to the company's downfall lay in its corporate culture that cultivated, 1, poor and toxic ethical climate, and 2, provided opportunities for misconduct. Enron's culture also focused on short-run earnings, and the company's rank-and-yank system fostered a climate of cutthroat competition among employees, in which survival has become the priority. The rank-and-yank system is a term used to describe a process by which a company ranks its employees against each other. Rewards people at the top of the ranking and terminates employees at the lowest end of the ranking. So that's what you call the yank. So Enron did not consider the effects that company actions would have on employees, shareholders, investors, and even the society at large. The renowned psychologist Dr. Philip Zimbardo once said, begin quote, "Most of the evil of the world comes about not of evil motives, but somebody saying, 'Get with the program, be a team player.' And this is what we saw at Enron." End quote. The Enron case now stands as one of the classic business case studies, highlighting business misconduct that dominated in the early part of the 21st century. So, there you have it. This is a discussion of the Enron case. So, thank you for watching. Have a good one, and until our next lecture. Class dismissed.